All hail the power of Jesus' name, let angels prostrate fall. Bring forth the royal diadem and crown him Lord of all. Bring forth the royal diadem and crown him Lord of all.
Welcome everybody to the Tag Your It podcast. I am Ray Ray.
And I am David Van Beppen.
Yes, and we have with us tonight who?
Dr. Wes Scroggins.
Yes, Doctor. He said doctor this time. Yes, we have Dr. Wes. Wes Scroggins. So it's getting a little bit. We need to flex a little bit. With what you got. So yes, Wes, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for your.
Oh yeah, dude, anytime. So to let you guys know, we have already talked about this last week. Wes is just getting on as many platforms as he can to be able to speak about what's going on. So here tonight, we are wanting to, or this morning, if you're listening to the podcast in the morning that it gets uploaded anyway, we are here to update you on the hearing of SB699 and SJR48. Which are both dealing with the abolition of abortion here in the state of Missouri. And so that's why we had Wes on. So Dave and I really don't know what went on at the hearing. We weren't there. We haven't gotten any updates. That's why we're here. And hopefully I know that a lot of you out there that are on the chats and we really don't know what's going on. You guys have been asking the questions. So the Tag Your It podcast is happy to be able to be a platform to get this information out to you on what's going on. But I do know that I have introduced a lot of new people and told them about the podcast and all that kind of stuff, about abolition and all this kind of stuff. And they're just getting ramrodded with a lot of information anyway. And so just for clarification for anybody new, this is we got you, Wes, that you've been doing this for a while. So if you want to introduce yourself real quick, and then I'll just we'll kind of we need to talk about what is a Senate bill, what is a Senate joint resolution and stuff like that. So go ahead, Wes.
Okay. My name is Dr. Wes Scroggins, and I'm president of Abolish Abortion Missouri, and kind of, helping to working really kind of alongside Senator Mike Moon, trying to put an end to abortion here in the state of Missouri.
Thank you for your hard work on that too. So
and we've been fortunate enough to get to meet Wes about 2 years ago. He was so powerful down at the Missouri Baptist annual meeting. We were exceptionally thankful for that, and I could not say enough how glad we were to have so many people from Abolish Abortion Missouri there at the Missouri Baptist annual meeting. That was huge. And we'd love to do something like that for the Kansas-Nebraska Convention of Southern Baptists. We might do a little bit different type of approach, but definitely want to make sure that we continue this type of effort. And now that I'm in the state of Kansas, some type of a joint effort would just be outstanding.
Yeah. And so just to let you guys know, Dave is on the road. So he's actually about 30 minutes away from us anyway in Buffalo. And so he's got some hotel internet going on. So there will be a little bit of weird stuff. If you could we just ask for your grace and your mercy because the information that we have for this podcast is invaluable. And so just go for the information. Don't go for our production value. Tag Your It is always a nice informal podcast. And we're about the message anyway.
Yes, I just wanted just to clarify. Here I am, and I apologize. Here I am in Bolivar, and that is part of the problem. I'm using hotel internet, and it is exceptionally unstable, and I am very sorry.
Yeah. Oh no. Yeah, it's okay. And whenever this thing gets put into a file and everything, maybe it's got it. I don't know. So we'll have to wait until after this is over. But anyway, just give us a quick skinny for anybody that is just breaking into this, because I know there's a lot of you can say new converts into abolitionism that they get the Christian worldview. They're like, yes, but they haven't really gotten into the political side, how that works in our circumstance. So we've got the principles, but now we need to understand the circumstance. And so here's the regulative principle idea anyway. So just for the people that are listening that don't know, what is a Senate bill?
Okay, well, a Senate bill is just a bill, a piece of legislation all right, that has been introduced by a senator, in the Senate chamber on the Senate side of the General Assembly. And so, that's what SB699 is. That's what the SB stands for, is Senate Bill 699. So, it's a bill introduced by State Senator Mike Moon that will, move through the legislative process, and it's got to pass through the Senate, and then if it goes through the Senate, it's got to go to the House and be passed through the House. So it's got to be passed through both chambers of the legislature. And, if a bill, if it starts on the House side, it, then has to go the other way through the Senate. But if it makes it, through both chambers, and it's passed out of the legislature, then it has to have the governor's signature on it to become law. And so that's what a bill is, how the bill process works.
Yes. And so Mike Moon, he ended up introducing, this prior to, so he pre-filed this before the session started this year. And then now we have Senate Joint, or SJR, right? So Senate Joint Resolution. That came about. And what is that? And how did that come about?
Okay, Senate Joint Resolution is basically a joint resolution, goes through the same process as a bill. All right. So, the process is the same. I mean, it's got to go, be passed out of the Senate, go through the House. And so it goes through that process. And where it differs from a bill is that, a bill becomes law as it's passed through the legislature and then signed by the governor. All right. So that bill, if it makes it through that process, becomes law. The resolution is such that it goes to a vote of the people. So SJR48, basically, if it would make it through the legislature, the legislature is at this point, with the resolution, just making a resolution and passing a resolution to send the abolition issue to a vote of the people of the state of Missouri. And so, that if it would pass through the legislature, it would be placed upon the ballot, right? Hopefully, if it would pass, it would be placed upon the ballot, hopefully this coming November, on the November ballot. The people of Missouri then would decide, whether they wanted abortion, to exist in this state or not. And so that's the difference between the two. And SJR 48, I think the real reason that Senator Moon filed it is simply because, if the magistrates aren't going to do their job, and they are not going to step up and put an end to abortion in the state of Missouri, then, we're asking that they let the people make that decision and decide if they're not going to do it. All right. And so that was kind of the purpose of filing the resolution along with the Senate bill.
Yeah. So yeah. Thank you for that. And I hope the people that are listening understand the process and how wonderful it actually is. I kind of mentioned in my video, because of the total depravity of man that was recognized whenever this country started, you don't give absolute power to one person. That's why our government is actually good, and we don't have to deconstruct. We don't have to abolish things. We don't have to do what the world is trying to do with things. We don't have to just start all over and blow everything up, but we can, do the Martin Luther thing, reform, that's a beautiful thing. I see Dave's face here. I don't know if he's got anything to ask or.
No, I just really appreciate the way that you connected those two for us, because that was something I had no clue that's what that did. So great. Sorry I couldn't be there in Jeff City when you all were able to speak at the hearing, and I think that's kind of the next place we kind of want to go. Is tell us a little bit about the hearing, what type of response you got, how it was received, the most meaningful places in that would be really helpful for us to kind of know, because it was a really great time when I was able to go there and to speak last year. Regretted that I couldn't do it this year. So tell us about that process.
Yeah, it's, how can I describe the hearing process? I mean, it is a very interesting, thing, and I enjoy it. I mean, at the same time, you I still have the nerves and things of that nature, testifying before, before the senators and things of that nature. But it is a great opportunity. And, last Wednesday, both the Senate bill and the joint resolution were heard in the Senate committee last Wednesday morning, April 6th. And, it went well, I thought. I mean, we had a good number of abolitionists that were there to testify, in favor of both the bill and the resolution. There was a lot of opposition there as well. Planned Parenthood had brought in, a good number of people, that were there to testify against it. And then you've got, a lot of doctors and things of that nature from Washington University. Some of you guys probably remember last year they were there testifying against the bill last year, and they were there again as well. Interesting, the committee chair, Bill White, really placed all of the abortion bills, in the Senate, most of them anyway, maybe not all, but most of them. I think there was a total of 8, and he had basically placed all of those, on the agenda, the committee agenda for that day, so that they would all be heard at the same time.
Yeah, and so there was it was a very big like a shotgun approach almost. So like we had so the big thing that we were doing sort of behind the scenes in abolition land anyway through contacts and Abolish Abortion Missouri was going around. It's like, okay, here's like, let's call every Monday. Let's call all day long. Let's leave messages. Let's see if we can talk to somebody, like I even got on Facebook and found some of the committee members and sent them messages. And I got a message back said, hey, this has been registered with, so you can like the opportunity and the level of commitment. I mean, you can be faithful, but you don't have to do so much. So even if it's a Facebook message, you can do this. So we we tried to see if we can be like, hey, we are going to have this abolition rally. Let's do it the same day as the hearing, right? And so we tried to do that. That didn't happen.
It didn't work out.
Yeah. So, and you're saying that there was like a lot of abortion bills. So it could be, pro-life, pro-choice, abolition, whatever. And they were all kind of clumped together. And I think there might have, if I saw it rightly, there's a little bit more to the party than just anything to deal with abortion. But would you say just, was there any sort of sway, you think, from us calling and texting or messaging to get this hearing to happen?
Yes, I think that your calls, I think made a difference. I do believe that put some pressure on Senator White's office. Senator White's the chair of the seniors committee. I do believe that it put some pressure on him to give the bill and the resolution a hearing. So I think it worked. I mean, they need to hear from the people, and we need to be making our voices heard, and that's what we have to do in order to sometimes to motivate our magistrates, our legislators to move, and I think that helped. And so, as you said here in this committee meeting, we had abolition bills, we had pro-life bills. And so the only two, that were true abolition bills were Senator Moon's 699 and SJR48. But you had Missouri Right to Life was there to, to basically, try to testify in favor of the pro-life bills. Campaign Life Missouri, Sam Lee was also there to do the same. Testified in favor of the pro-life bills. Both groups failed to voice any support whatsoever for the abolition bills.
Because like we live, Dave's got something there.
Oh man, I want to make sure that is well heard. If you are someone who is a Missouri Baptist or a Kansas, Nebraska Convention of Southern Baptists, what you heard right there is everything that Adam and I told you from the floor of the Missouri Baptist annual meeting. These Christian Life Commission folks do not want abortion to end. They don't want it to end. They want to keep letting babies get regulated and murder regulated. That is right there. You heard it. That's what happened when they showed up at this hearing. They said, it's cool to kill babies. Let's just regulate the way we do it. That is the thing that Missouri Baptist allowed and supported. And that needs to be well understood.
Yeah,
I agree. And I was in the room, Dave. I was in the room when both Sam Lee of Campaign Life for Missouri and the representative for Missouri Right to Life, I was in the room when both of them gave their testimony. I heard it with my own ears. And
yeah, so they went, so they actually, so they didn't support it, but did they speak against the abolition?
No, the only thing that was said that would have been opposed to the abolition bills was said on the part of the representative, the person who was there with Missouri Right to Life, and I cannot remember her name, but she did make the statement right at the end of toward the end of her testimony, that supporting SB699 would repeal the pro-life bills that are already on the books. Now, she was incorrect when she made that statement, because Senator Moon filed the committee substitute back back in February, I believe it was. We had the committee substitute that basically would leave all of those pro-life bills on the books. So SB 699 will not repeal any of the current pro-life laws. It supersedes them if passed. So they basically become obsolete, but they're still on the books. And so she did make that statement that it would repeal, but Senator Moon quickly corrected her and set the record straight. But that's one of the reasons why they are opposed to these bills, or their arguments they have been in the past, is that they don't want to see the pro-life bills that we've got on the books right now. They don't want to see those repealed, and so they're going to oppose anything that is on the books. For example, that makes a woman wait for a waiting period, right, to get an abortion, or that states that that after a certain time, or up till a certain time, abortions can be performed up to 20 weeks or 22 weeks, as it is right now in Missouri. They want those laws left on the books. And what they fail to realize is that it's those laws that really make abortion legal, not illegal, but legal, here in the state of Missouri, because they are into our state statutes. They're specifying, the conditions under which abortions are legally can occur. And that's what they fail to realize, and that's what they fail to admit.
Yeah, totally get you there. But yeah, it's the same thing. Like whenever the SBC folks, whenever they allowed the word alone to go in just to get the resolution passed, everything around that word alone totally contradicts that word alone. And I would even say in Missouri, whenever we say that we're going to call to equity under the law, that supersedes the prideful, hey, but it comes down to that. The prideful, let's say thank you to those who regulated murder.
Yeah.
That's the thing. But yeah. So just a correction. So the CLC, though, the Christian Life Commission, was anybody there from the CLC?
If they were, I didn't hear testimony given by anybody from the CLC. Okay. And so, that's one of those things that, because I just wanted to make sure that we got the right organizations, implicated in this. And so, but the thing is they're not there, but abolitionists are there. And so I'm talking about like Missouri Baptists. The abolitionists are there to support something, and so the CLC wasn't there, even if they were going to speak against us on the abolition side, or bring that but the woman, or just those kind of things. They weren't even there. So are they actually an entity that's actually fighting for
the right to life at any level? Are they actually in the state lobbying as we think they are? And we're kind of like giving them money to be a part of that. So that's something for Missouri Baptists to think about when they think about their entities and everything too. So I just wanted to make sure to clarify, but then also push that point. So, but yeah, so what were some of the arguments? So, you had pro-life folks out there. We already said that, some people weren't necessarily speaking against or anything, but they were for just the pro-life regulation of murder, and they didn't really speak on it. But what were like, Planned Parenthoods or any other, like, what are the main arguments that people are proposing to defeat the abolition side?
Yeah, one of the main arguments that came from the Planned Parenthood and the doctors that were there from Washington University in St. Louis, the arguments to me are really concerning because, many of the doctors, especially, well, even the Planned Parenthood, staff and personnel, argued that, if we make abortion more restrictive, or if we would abolish it altogether, then what that does is it leaves vulnerable, many of these women and these mothers. And I sat there and I heard, a couple of doctors from Washington, at least one, there was one, I remember, from Washington U, and said, what are my patients going to do? I mean, I've got women, patients who, if they don't have, access to abortions, they're going to have to raise these kids, these babies that they're just not prepared to raise. And, that's a real concerning argument, to hear coming from these groups that, just because, you have a child that, may not be easy to raise, or you may not be in a good position to provide for it or care for it, it somehow, devalues its life and its worth, and that child isn't worth keeping. And so, the thing to do is go ahead and murder that child, out of convenience, so that it doesn't create any greater burden on you, the mother. That to me is just a really, really disturbing argument to make. But I heard that argument made several times in that hearing by that opposition.
Yeah, and like from the abolitionist side, we're not negating that, and we want to hear those stories.
Yeah,
and so that's something from like my conversations that I've had. It's always about like, where's the grace? And I'm like, well, the church has the keys, the civil magistrate has the sword. And the thing is, you're negating any other sort of thing that is out there. This is the prejudice. Like, you want to murder a child so bad, and you're trying to just emote with that. And it's one of those things, like, both are true. Like, you need help and you don't murder the baby. Like,
right.
Like there's, like, you can't do like, yes, you need help in this, and we do need to think about that. But whenever it comes to the specific area of these bills, it's just going, hey, we're not going to murder people anymore.
Right.
That's what these are for. And there's other things that need to be involved, but the problem is we don't need to ask the state for help. That's the other problem. So there's lots of, we are circumspect people. We have like all these points that they're hitting, and we've got to deal with all those points. But it's like, again, it surrounds the person that we want to murder, and we can't do that, the major thing. But there is help. There are people who care and all that stuff. I understand that, you can blame the foster system. Okay, let's reform it. Let's reform the civil magistrate and the way it works and what it does. Let's reform foster care. Let's reform adoption. Yeah, we need to talk about all those things. And it's like, it's a weight, but sin is a weight, and there's so much we have to repent from. So, I understand, but we can't allow one sin to help us to justify another sin. Like, we can't.
Correct.
Can't do that. So
that's correct.
But yeah, I totally get you. And I mean, it's such a heavy thing. And we do need to be making sure that we're intentionally hearing that, but then also going, but does that give you a right to murder? And no. So, but yeah, I understand. So that's pretty much the main argument. It always comes down to the woman not taking care of it. And it's like, well, because of your bad decisions, you're going to murder somebody. You're going to make another bad decision.
Right.
When does the bad decision stop? And so, yeah, it's really
and the issues.
Yeah.
You're right.
I get you. And,
right.
and it's so heavy. it's way so heavy. But I just wanted, is there any sort of other arguments that, we need to be able to speak into, to get people to think about, so whenever they confront this, they're able to talk prior to anything going down?
Yeah, and that's the big one, that I remember coming out of that committee is just, the circumstances, the condition of the mother, what they would be left with, what they would be, the conditions under which they would be left, if they did not have abortion available to them. And so, that was one of the big, the big arguments right there. So,
Okay. Well, appreciate that immensely. I just want to give some time to Dave. I know it looks like he's thinking over there, and it's the way that we're doing this. We're all three apart from each other. So I've got to try to pick on. I think I'm getting better at picking up these little cues inside like a little window.
So Wes, where are we now that we've had the hearing? What is the next step in the process, and what can listeners of the podcast, what can people in Missouri do to push things forward, or do they have an ability to? What's the next step?
It's a great question. And so the next step is that we need SB699 and SJR48 to be voted out of this committee. All right. They need to be given a vote, and that is up to, whether they get that vote or not is up to the chairman, Senator Bill White. He will make that decision whether he wants to give them a vote. I talked with his office just an hour ago, and as of right now, according to his staff, neither one of them are scheduled for a vote. All right. So what we need, and I just got some news coming in, guys. What we need are some people to start ringing his phone, Senator Bill White. All right. And asking him to give both of these pieces of legislation a vote in his seniors committee. Okay. Now, there are 8 members on that committee. We need 5 votes. All right. We need 5 of the 8 affirmative votes. Now, let me see here. I just got some news just coming in right now.
Breaking news.
Breaking news.
Breaking news.
The breaking news is Senator Holly Rader is one of the members on that committee. And the news that I'm just getting is that she has just stated that both of these pieces of legislation have her support, have her vote. I talked with Senator Cindy O'Loughlin's office just earlier this afternoon. She is one of the members of the seniors committee. Her legislative staff told me that we have her vote on both pieces of legislation. I talked with Senator Rick Bratton, not yesterday, but last Wednesday afternoon. I talked with him personally in his office after the committee hearing, and Senator Bratton assured me we had his vote for both pieces of legislation. So we've got, as of now, it looks like we've got 3 senators that are willing to vote this thing out of committee and move it on. We need 2 more. We need Bill White to give it a vote, give both a vote, and we need 2 more senators. And those senators, I think that maybe we can get are going to be Elaine Gannon and Justin Brown. Those are 2 other senators on the committee whose votes we need, and Republican senators. And if we can get their votes, then we've got enough votes, it looks like, to move both of these out of committee and move them. I guess the next step would be then to the floor of the Senate for debate. So that's what we need your listeners to do, is to start ringing their phones, making these phone calls, and asking them to support SB699 and SJR48 and get them out of committee.
Yeah. So basically, you're saying with Senator Bill White, he's the one that can pretty much pigeonhole the vote. So that, like, say we have these 3 folks, or even if we get 2 more, they could probably talk to him, but he's still the one in power to take this bill and just like throw it away, and then you never hear about it again.
That's true.
Say, okay, let's vote on this thing. So he's got all the power. So we need to hit him, and it'd be awesome if he becomes can he vote also?
He will cast a vote, yes, as committee chair. He has been Senator White has been opposed all along, right? He has been opposed to this bill, to both of these pieces of legislation, really since day one.
Yeah. So there's history. So last year, right? Like fill people in on that.
Yeah. Well, last year when we had SB391, the abolition bill, it went to the Health and Pensions Committee. Senator White was a member. He wasn't the chair of that committee. The chair of that committee last year was Senator Onder. And if you remember right, Senator Onder stalled, the SB 391 last year for a long, long time.
And then Senator Onder won the representative for life. So
he did.
I mean, if
and I don't know if we're doing the wrong thing. Yeah, we might be naming names that we shouldn't do that. We shouldn't name names when people do something publicly. I mean, sorry, that's a little bit of our past experience, but yeah.
But Senator White, opposed 391 last year, and it just so happened that Senator Moon's legislation, abortion legislation 699 this year, was assigned to the committee that he chairs, and so here we are now. We were April the 6th, right? Late in the session, even getting a hearing for the bill. The bill was assigned to the committee in January. Okay. And here it is, April the 6th, before we even got the hearing. And now we're waiting for him to say that he will let them have a vote. So yes, his office needs to hear from your listeners, and calling him up, asking him to get a vote for these pieces of legislation ASAP, and then also asking him to cast his vote in favor of the bills as well.
Yeah. Just to get a hearing on the floor. And so again, just to clarify, everybody, whenever these things go in, they go into a committee. And so this year it was the seniors,
the seniors and families, and veterans, military affairs. An odd committee, in my opinion, a very odd committee for all of these abortion bills to be put into.
Yeah. And so it goes to a committee, and then those are the people that get to read it and hear it. And then it has to come out of that committee onto the floor. So if you're a Missouri Baptist, are you hearing anything familiar here? So there's this same sort of process here. It has to come out of a committee, and then it hits the floor to where they read it and take a vote. And then again, just to clarify, just to bring it back, to say it again, just for putting in our brain's sake, it goes to the representative. It goes to the House. So if it gets voted on there and it's a good thing, it goes to the House, and they have to deliberate and all that kind of stuff. And then here's where we can hold people that have talked to accountability, that said that they would sign anything up to and including abolition.
Yes.
So if you want to see somebody put his money where his mouth is, you better call Senator White. You better call these people and say, hey, we want this on the Senate floor. We want it voted, and we want equal justice before the law for all people.
Yes.
And that by the Missouri standards that we have already, but from conception, it is a human being until you get to, and Mike Moon's talked about it, until you get to the end of the document where it pays homage to the state, to the federal government. And that's the thing. We are ignoring Roe. And that is the beautiful thing about 699. It says that these things, yeah, I don't know if you want to tell the direct verbiage if you have it off your brain, but
yeah, not verbatim, but yeah, a true abolition bill is going to ignore Roe. I mean, it recognizes it for what it is. Roe versus Wade was never law. It never has been law. It's a court opinion, and that's all that it is. And so, an abolition bill basically calls upon the magistrates, right? Our state magistrates, our state leaders, representatives, senators, our governor, to stand up and to assert our sovereignty as a state. All right. And we have the right to do that constitutionally. We have the right to do that. Biblically, the magistrates have that duty. They have that obligation over and over and over again, right? Throughout scripture, you see God's people, God's men going to the magistrates and confronting the magistrates, with their sin and with their evil. So the lesser magistrate doctrine is biblically rooted. But, even constitutionally, the U.S. Constitution says that, all issues that are not contained within the Constitution are left up to what? To the states. They're the rights of the states. Our Missouri Constitution, I think it's Article 1, Section 4, if I remember right, is titled The Independence of Missouri. Most people don't know that. Article 1, Section 4, the independence of Missouri, right at the beginning of our Constitution. That article, that section begins by stating Missouri is a sovereign and independent state. All right. So, what doesn't the abolition bill do? It basically calls on our magistrates to stand up, to assert our state's sovereignty, and to tell the federal government, we're no longer killing babies in Missouri. We're going to end it right here. And that's what an abolition bill does.
Amen. Yes. Amen. So, yeah, thank you for that. Just that continuing, we need, the big thing is the education of people, because people have shoved off any meaningful relationship with the government. There's a cynicism and there's all that kind of stuff. But as a Christian, like just to bring it back around to what we talked about before, the pro-life side, the incrementalist side has tried to hijack Esther, the book of Esther, and do that. But the thing is, there's another guy, and I'm not going to name him yet. There might be something someday that flips me to name him. But it's somebody that said, if God is for us, who can be against us, on abolitionist material, and then backed off.
Yeah.
So if he's listening, he knows who he's talking. Well, I've already talked to him. So I'm not even saying this behind his back. I've already talked to him like this anyway. But Esther risked her life to approach the king.
Yeah.
She said, this is not customary. You're supposed to wait for him to call on you. Yet she risked her life, walked into his presence. And it was the grace of the Almighty sovereign God that made him pull his scepter out and point at her and not kill her.
Yeah. And that's that's a great biblical example of interposition. All right. Upon which the lesser magistrate doctrine is based, is that, when the higher authorities, right, make some kind of a law, ruling, whatever, that violates the law of God, it's the duty of the lesser magistrates to interpose on behalf of the people. And that's exactly what Esther did there.
Yes. Yeah.
She interposed on behalf of her people.
Yeah.
Great
Amen.
Example.
Yeah. And so, but yeah, I know that, Dave has given us his time and everything. And it's been a pleasure to see him on the screen again, even though we've had our little issues. And I think I have definitely monopolized anyway on the question.
No, man, I'm so grateful, because I'm not in the state of Missouri. I haven't followed through everything, but I am really grateful for everything that's going on there. And haven't been as involved with things in Kansas, but I still fully support what is going on. And given my shift in churches and me just trying to navigate the newness of where I am, I just have been doing the best I can to pastor in the church, and then to keep my head above water in the teaching component, which is a blessing. But I continue to pray for the end of abortion, and want to look forward to every opportunity we can get to get the message out there, and to do so clearly and unequivocally and unforgivingly, because that's the way we're supposed to do it. So yes, I'm grateful, Wes, and thank you for coming on this short notice. I'm sorry that my internet in the hotel is not better. I would have maybe shifted and gone to a coffee shop or something had I known it was going to be so problematic. So I
think it worked out okay.
That.
No problem.
Yeah, well, yeah, dude. Thank you so much, Dave. Thank you so much, Wes. We're gonna have to call this an evening, but I think we got all the information. Are you satisfied, Wes, with the information, or is there any other little points that you'd like to kind of throw in just to make sure, and then we will hit them on our show?
Well, the only other point that I might make is that Abolish Abortion Missouri, we are organizing. We are becoming more active. We are doing more events, and we're going to be back at the state capitol Wednesday of next week for the, I think it's the Midwest March for Life, I think is what it's called. Huge rally. It's actually outside on the grounds of the state capitol. We'll be back there. We've been hitting homeschool conferences around the area, the state, and just doing everything that we can, right now to get the abolition message out. And, the great thing about it is, the encouraging thing is that as we go to these events, we talk to more and more people. People are saying, yeah, I mean, you're right. I mean, this whole, abolition position makes sense. I mean, doesn't make a lot of sense to have these so-called pro-life laws on the books that basically specify the conditions under which babies can be murdered. The only right thing to do is to totally abolish abortion completely now. And so that's the encouraging thing. We're running into more and more people that seem to be thinking that way.
Yeah. And just to, clarify, whenever we abolish abortion, there's already laws that are for murderers. So we don't have to add it. Like, we're not removing anything that we have to add to. We're just removing the regulation of murder to then the laws that we already have against homicide. Right. And so, so that's something else that I think maybe people don't think about, and again, we're not out to stone women in vigilante style. It still has to go to a court, jury, a trial, all that kind of stuff, evidence. There are degrees of murder as well. And so it's going to hit the same process. It's just, we're treating a human being like a human being, and we're not making an arbitrary line. So that's pretty much I think a summation of the position for anybody that's brand new or just needs to be reminded, getting lost in the weeds of this thing, which you can totally do. But then, so that's pretty much, thank you so much for those. And so again, call Senator White. Call him, get on Facebook. That I Facebooked him, and a representative said, hey, it's been logged. Okay. So get on Facebook, call. If you have his personal number, talk to him, just whatever, make a relationship as Mike Moon has talked about, build relationships with your people, treat them as human beings and not robots out dead set to do everything destructive of everybody, right? They're human beings too. They're sinners. They're going the wrong way. And especially if they're brothers and sisters in Christ, correct them, rebuke them, and reconcile a relationship between you and him, and then them and God as well. This is how this whole that's how ecclesiology works, so let's put our beliefs in other areas into action with the same fervor that we have for our preborn image-bearing neighbors that we want recognized as what they are inherently. So, but yes, with that said, I know Dave has got to get off of here because he's a busy man. I know, Wes, you are too. Thank you both for your time. Thank you both for your ministries, and that I get to stand with you guys is just amazing. And we shall continue with things. So, but with that said, this is the Tag You're It podcast. I'm Ray.
And I am David Van Beber. I'm David Van Beber.
Yes, and we got Wes Scroggins from Abolish Abortion Missouri. Check out his website. And